Hey, you got your brain all warmed up? All right, let's go. Michael was flying in business class for the first time in his life. Of course, he was curious about his fellow passengers. Soon he realized that one of them just pretended to be rich. Which one was it? It was the guy wearing a blue shirt. On his suit jacket label, you can read that it's made of polyester. Really rich people rarely wear synthetic fabrics. A wealthy man, Mr. Wilson, disappeared from his hotel room. He was rumored to have come to buy the resort from the current owner. There are 3 suspects. Mr. Wilson's assistant said that he had felt unwell and had gone to his room right upon arrival. The hotel owner said that they had agreed to meet in a conference room, but he had gotten lost on his way there. Mr. Wilson's wife said that her husband had planned to meet with the hotel owner, and since she wasn't interested in business, she went to the spa. Who is behind Mr. Wilson's disappearance? It's the hotel owner. How could he get lost in his own hotel? Marcus, a computer genius, needed to get into his client's computer. And, of course, the client didn't remember the password. The only thing he had was a note with a hint. Which number should Marcus type in for the computer to switch on? The correct number is 4. It corresponds to the number of the intersections. A rich businessman called the police and reported that a valuable vase or vase from his collection had gone missing. It turned out the businessman had just returned from his overseas trip. While he was away, a security guard was looking after the house. When questioned, the guard replied that the theft had happened the night before. He was in the same room with the vase, reading. Suddenly, the power went out and he heard the doorbell ring. He hurried to open the door, but there was no one outside. When he came back, the vase was gone. The police didn't believe the man and arrested him. Why? It's because the doorbell doesn't ring if there's no electricity. You meet these 2 women in an elevator at work. You have never come across any of them before, but they both claim they work in your company. In reality, only one of them works there. Which one? It's the lady on the left. She has a badge on her jacket with her name and other information. She must be new in the company. As for the second woman, she's an imposter. Look at this picture and say which person is in greater danger. It's the person on the left, because his ladder is about to snap. Bridget is taking part in a TV challenge show. There are 2 doors in front of her. Behind one of them, there's an unfriendly dog. Behind the other, a case with cash. There are 2 signs on the doors. One always lies, the other is truthful. On the first door, it's written, "The cash is here, the dog is in the next room." The other sign says, "The cash and the dog aren't in the same room." Where is the cash? The case with the cash is in the second room. The second statement is true, which means the first one is false. Now look at this picture carefully. What's wrong here? Have you paid attention to that weird mirror? It doesn't reflect anything. Another tricky task for you. Look at these people and try to figure out which one of them is weird. Actually, there are two unusual people here. This man apparently has two left hands, and this lady is literally floating above the floor. These people came to a Halloween party, but one monster might be more real than you can imagine. Which one is it? It's the girl on the right. If you look more closely, you'll see a human eye innocently floating in her drink. You're totally lost in the woods, feeling cold and hungry. After hours of wandering, you find 3 houses. Which one should you enter? The first house is locked from the outside. The third house seems safe, but there are footprints leading to the door. Those are wolf paw prints. So your safest choice is house number 2. Julian has lots of patients today and he's very tired. He sneaks a peek at the people waiting to be treated and realizes that one of them is just pretending to be unwell. Which one is it? It's Rick. His phone is in his right pocket, so he must have used his broken arm to put it there, which would have caused him a lot of pain if his arm had truly been injured. Gemma returned from Asia and brought a precious porcelain figurine. She threw a party and invited all her friends to tell them about her journey. They had a great time. But after her friends left, the woman realized the figurine had disappeared. She called the police and showed them the photo she had taken at the party. One of the officers immediately realized who had stolen the figurine. Did you understand it too? It was this girl. She hid the figurine under her hat. You met a guy while on vacation, and he introduced himself as Jason. He said that his siblings were all named after the months of the year: July, August, September, October, and November. So why was he called Jason? Well, take the first letters of the guy's siblings' names, and you'll get Jason. While traveling around Mexico, Lucas decided to visit a super famous restaurant. There, he ordered 3 dishes. But when the waiter brought them and put the plates on the table, Lucas realized that eating them all might end up badly. Which dish is safe to eat? Unfortunately, none of the dishes is safe. The first one has weird mushrooms that look like they're poisonous. The third dish contains cheese with mold, but it's not that mold that's involved in cheese making. Most likely, the cheese has just gone bad. Now, you might think the second dish is safe, but look at those beans. They're poisonous castor beans. Look at these hands attentively and try to figure out which person is married. If you look at the first hand, you'll realize it doesn't belong to a grown-up person. On the second hand, there is a mark left by a ring, but there's no ring itself. It must mean that the person is no longer married. On the third hand, there's no ring either, but it's the right hand, and we wear wedding rings on the left hand. So, out of these 3, this person is most likely to be married. An infinite number of mathematicians are waiting to make their orders in a coffee shop. The first one asks the barista for a half a gallon of coffee. The second wants to have a quarter of a gallon. The third needs an eighth, and so on. How many gallons of coffee will the barista need to fulfill the wishes of all the mathematicians? Well, just one. A man was to be sentenced for his crimes, but the judge told him, You may make a statement. If it is true, I'll sentence you to 2 years in prison. If it is false, I'll sentence you to 5 years in prison. After the man made his statement, the judge decided to set him free. Can you figure out what the man said? He said, "You'll sentence me to 5 years in prison." If it was true, then the judge would have to make it false by sentencing him to 2 years. If it was false, then he would have to give him 5 years, which would make it true. So rather than contradict his own word, the judge set the man free. A guy got stranded on an island, and one of the main issues was that he couldn't swim. However, he managed to get off the island and return home safely. How did he do it? No one said the man got stranded on a deserted island. He just found some people and asked them to take him home by boat. Clever! Hey, ready to do some massive rock and rolling with your brain muscles? Let's start anyway. Just kidding. Detective Jenny receives an anonymous report. One of the 3 guests at a local cafe is a thief. Can you help her figure out who? The first guy holds female jewelry, but it could be a gift for his girlfriend because there are 2 cups at his table. Plus, there are security cameras everywhere, so he wouldn't flash the jewelry so openly if it was stolen. The same is true for the third guy with 2 phones. So, the second guy who's hiding cash in his socks is the thief. Oh no! One of the customers just collapsed at a small store. He needs to be taken to the hospital, but the store owner doesn't have a vehicle. Which one of these 3 cars should he try to stop and ask for a lift? The first car is already full. The ambulance has an emergency siren on. It must already have a patient inside who needs urgent help, so it won't stop. So he should try with the police car. They made it to the hospital, but now it's time to choose between the 3 entry gates. The first one is for regular patients, the second leads to the doctor's offices, and the third is for emergency cases. Which one should they choose? The first and second ones are overcrowded, so they should enter the doctor's offices and get help and guidance there. There is this mystery box Sammy needs to open, but the problem is she can't use her hands. She's breaking her head over it and doesn't notice her friend entering the room. She twists her ankle and falls over him. Ouch! He helps her up, and then she knows what to do with the box. Any ideas about what it is? The instructions said not to use her hands, but it didn't say anything about getting help from others. She just asked her friend to open the box. Real estate ads sometimes lie to make you rent an apartment with a secret. Like maybe there was a maniac living there before you. Can you tell if there's one living in any of these apartments? Those photos in the second apartment look really creepy. Maybe the maniac keeps track of his targets in this way. What about these 2 apartments? Again, there's a maniac living in one of them. That axe sure looks like something only a maniac would keep in the house. Whoops! Wendy ended up in some scary room, and the only way out is through a door protected by some extra security logistical password. Wendy needs to choose one of the 4 objects on the screen that doesn't fit in here for some reason. Can you help her out? A plastic straw, a paper cup, and a pack of wet wipes are all single-use items. The ceramic plate is the only non-disposable item here. She needs to press the button number 2 to unlock the lab door. Mrs. Stone is an influential woman and a picky client. She gets really unhappy about her haircut and calls the manager. He asks who did her hair, and she can't tell because the hairdressers are twins, and they both deny doing it. Can you figure out who's to blame? It's this twin on the right. Mrs. Stone's short blue hair is still on her black dress. Someone steals a safe box from a wealthy mansion. All they have is this footage of the thief. A couple of days later, Lena, the heiress, meets the man of her dreams. He wants to find out every little detail about her. She brings him home, and her dad calls the police immediately. Why? The man in the footage has the same tattoo on his arm. He must be so interested in Lena to learn the code for the safe box. It could be some important date for the family. A local TV channel did a piece on a new restaurant that is so great that you can never find an empty table and you have to book weeks ahead. The idea was to bring even more guests in, but after the piece, people stopped going there altogether. Why? They saw this reflection in the wall mirror. These aren't people, but cardboard cutouts. I wouldn't go to a place that lies to customers like this either. At a gala dinner, Jack meets the most beautiful girl he's ever seen. He falls in love immediately, but it turns out she's already married. Can you guess which one of these guys is her spouse? It's this guy here. He's the only one who doesn't have a drink in his hands, and the beautiful girl is holding 2 glasses, one for herself and one for her husband. Sorry, Jack. Nevertheless, he persisted. Jack decides to keep looking and goes on a date with a girl he met online. He clearly wrote that all he wants is someone who's honest with him, even if it's the small things. He asks the girl different questions, and one of them is if she's a natural blonde. Once she answers yes, he says their relationship won't work out. Why? The girl has really dark roots and eyebrows. There's nothing wrong with that, but she just lied. She's not a natural blonde, and Jack can't stand any lies. Meanwhile, Sarah and John are looking for their first house together. Aww. The real estate agent showed them 3 options. The first one has the most beautiful location, and the price is super affordable. The second house is super spacious, and again, the price is really good. The third one looks the least impressive, and the price is the same. What should they choose? They should go for the third house. There's mold in the first one, and the second one has a cockroach problem. Sue wants to get her nails done and chooses a fancy place where they take care of everything. They even take her bag into safe storage so she doesn't have to worry about it. Oops, looks like someone went through it while she was busy. One of her favorite earrings is missing. There are 3 suspects. Who did it? It must be the receptionist. She only has 1 earring, and it matches the second one that's still in storage. Kira went to a big party, and someone stole her wallet. Yikes! Her credit card was inside, but no cash whatsoever. The police were able to narrow it down to 3 suspects. Sam said she was singing karaoke, and everyone could confirm it. Jim said he spent 40 minutes in line for the toilet. Jody said she was loaded and didn't need someone else's credit card. Who's lying here? The only way Jody could know that the wallet only had one credit card inside was to actually steal it. It was her. Two girls are sitting at the same table at a coffee shop. One of them is talking about an article she's working on as a journalist. The second girl is complaining about her boyfriend, who's become really distant lately. Sometimes the answers match, but otherwise it looks like they are just interrupting each other. What's going on here? These two girls aren't speaking to each other. They're talking on their phones through wireless headphones. Nate wants to visit the new popular cafe downtown. They work on a first-come, first-served basis, and getting a table is really tricky. But he has enough experience to spot one table that will be free soon. How does he know it? There's a bill and the money already on the table. It means these ladies right here are about to leave, and Nate can grab this table. A famous artist was presenting a new painting. While everyone was looking at it, someone stole her old masterpiece worth millions. The police questioned everyone and narrowed down the suspects to 3 people. Steve is the waiter, and he was busy serving drinks. Mark is a professional musician, and he says he was playing the piano. Natalie says she had to go out to discuss something on the phone, so it wasn't her. Who's the thief? Mark said he was playing the piano, but there are no musical instruments in the exhibition hall. It was him.
3 cats can catch 3 mice in 3 minutes. How long will it take 10 cats to catch 10 mice? The same 3 minutes. No more, no less. There are 100 books on the shelf. To count off 10 of them, you need 10 seconds. How much time will you spend counting off 80 books? Just 20 seconds. You'll need this time to count off 20 books, and the rest will make 80. Smart, right? Even when it passes in front of the sun, it doesn't cast a shadow. What is it? It's the wind. Now let's get down to some serious stuff. Someone stole the money Michael kept in his safe. After watching the security footage, the police figured out that it had happened at midnight. They questioned 3 suspects. Hannah said she'd gone to bed at 10 p.m. and fallen asleep right away. Liam told the detective he'd been watching TV from 11:45 p.m. to 1 a.m. And Aiden said he'd been with his friends, partying all night. The police arrested the thief. Who was it? It was Liam. He was suspiciously specific about the time. A man came to a jewelry store planning to buy an expensive diamond ring for his wife, but someone stole his wallet right in the store. The manager called the police and asked all the visitors who were inside at the time to stay until the officer's arrival. The police arrived and examined the people attentively. Soon, they knew who had taken the wallet. Can you figure it out too? It's the man in the middle. He has a bandage on his right arm, but it's wrapped over the sleeve of his jacket, not hidden under it like a real bandage would be. Detective Theodore Mitchell worked undercover at a luxurious resort. The police suspected that the hotel owners were involved in some shady deals. Theodore's main task was to sneak into the manager's office and check the documents. But the door was locked, and there was a combination lock. Theodore had to solve a math riddle, and the answer would be the code. As soon as he punched in the code, the door opened. What was the correct number? The code was 30. There are no mathematical symbols at the end of the first and second lines. It means the whole thing looks like this. A police officer knocks on the door. A man opens it. The officer informs the man that a plant pot fell out of his window an hour ago and hit a woman on the head. She's not badly hurt, but now the man needs to compensate this woman for the damage. The man lets the officer inside, but argues that the situation can't be true. He claims that his windows were closed an hour ago because he has just returned home. The officer knows that the man is lying. How has he figured it out? The police officer spotted a pan with boiling water in the kitchen. If the man indeed came home just a few minutes ago, the water wouldn't have had enough time to start boiling. 3 men were swimming in the sea. The weather was getting worse, and a coast guard asked them to leave the water. But when they got back to the shore, only 2 of the men had wet hair. Why? The third man was bald. A gust of wind blew a $100 bill out of the hands of a grocery store owner. The money seemed to have vanished into thin air. But in reality, one of the customers must have taken the bill. But no one wanted to admit to stealing the money. The woman was especially indignant and suggested that her bag should be checked. A security guard asked her to follow him to the office, but she refused to go. After that, the guard called the police. Why? The woman was standing on the $100 bill. If she followed the guard, everyone would see the money. A man found himself on an island inhabited by a tribe of savages. The tribespeople locked him in a house with only 2 exits. One of the doors led to freedom, while the other led to demise. 2 guards were in the house with him. One of them always told the truth, and the other always lied. The man was allowed to ask only one question to one of them. Of course, he didn't know which of them was the honest person and which one was the liar. What question should he ask to find the correct exit and save his life? The question he should ask is, what would your companion say if I asked which door leads to freedom? No matter who he asks, the answer will always be the wrong door. So, he should open the opposite door. It'll lead to freedom. One day, posters were put up in one of Prague's main squares. They read, "Beware of pickpockets." The local police knew that there were indeed many pickpockets in the area, but they actively tore down these posters. Why? There were many tourists in this square. The pickpockets themselves put up these posters. This made their job easier. People who read the announcement would instinctively check their valuables to make sure they were still there. At that moment, the thieves would watch them and figure out exactly where their targets kept their belongings. The police, realizing this trick, tore down the posters to prevent people from unknowingly helping the thieves rob them. Mary lived in a luxurious mansion. One day, she discovered that all her jewelry had mysteriously disappeared. The police arrived at the crime scene and realized that the theft had occurred very recently. They questioned 4 people who were in the house at the time of the incident. The gardener said he'd been tending the flower beds in the garden all morning. His hands were covered in green and brown stains from plants and soil. The builder claimed he'd been working in the yard, repairing the fence. His hands had splinters and small scratches. Mary's niece stated that she had been swimming in the pool all morning. And the maid said she had been cleaning the windows, so she was still wearing silicone gloves. The detective asked everyone to show their hands and immediately realized who was lying. Who is the thief? The niece. If she had really been in the pool all morning, her fingers would have been wrinkled. Elijah went on a cruise. On the third day, he noticed that one of the staff members was an imposter. Look at them attentively and try to guess who it is. This waitress is actually hiding a police badge under her floral garland. She must be undercover. A precious 16th century brooch has been stolen from its glass display case in a museum. The only person who has entered it is the cleaning lady, Mrs. Douglas, who's been working there for 20 years. After examining the crime scene, the detective, who has come to investigate the case, arrests Mrs. Douglas. Why? Mrs. Douglas's habit let her down. After breaking the display case and taking the brooch, she carefully cleaned up the glass shards. A very famous painting disappeared from a museum. Later, the police managed to find it, but there was a problem. They found not one, but 3 paintings. Only one of them is original. The others are just copies. Can you help the police figure out which is the original painting? It's the one with the brown frame. Take a look. All frames in the museum are made in the same style. Detective James's vacation got cut short when a millionaire hotel guest was found unconscious, still holding a glass. Someone was behind it, and 3 housekeepers were suspects. Maggie wore rubber gloves. Eddie carried laundry, and Gigi held a broom. So, who did it? Look closely. Eddie's laundry includes a white sheet with a stain, probably from the orange juice the guest was drinking right before passing out. He must have put poison inside the victim's drink. James heads to the pool to relax, but when he gets there, he's shocked. A guy is drowning and the detective is sure somebody tried to end his life. Can you figure out what happened? Take a close look at the stuff left near the pool. There's a single shoe here, but where's the other one? That suggests that this man got pushed into the pool really fast, and the person who did it probably knew he didn't know how to swim. A guest is now begging James for help, saying her wallet was stolen. The detective then asks to check the security cameras at the last 2 places she visited to figure out who the suspect was. Suddenly, he says she can rest easily. But why? In this footage, we can see that her wallet is under the table of the restaurant. She must have gotten up at some point and dropped it. Hopefully, a waiter picked it up for her. The vacay is over, and it's time for the detective to check out. The woman working in the lobby asks, "What's your room number, sir?" James decides to put his detective skills to the test with a riddle. He says his room number is a 2-digit number where the sum of the digits is 12. The difference between them is 6, and the larger digit comes first. After thinking for a bit, she answers, 93. Well done. James lands at the airport, and it's time for the security check. They ask him to take out any electronics and liquids from his bag. He pulls out his toiletry bag and his laptop. But when it's his turn to go through the x-ray, his suitcase still gets flagged. Why? Remember how they asked him to take out all the electronics? But look, there's still an iPad in there. Once James gets to his destination, he overhears a suspicious guy talking on the phone. The guy says he's got stolen diamonds in a Chanel bag. The detective rushes to the baggage claim to hand things over to the police, but there are 4 brand-name bags sitting there. Only one is from Chanel. Can you guess which one? Here's a hint. Look for the first letter of the brand's name. Yep, bag number 3 has the real Chanel logo. James is finally home, and his neighbor is freaking out. She says she just got back from a work trip and her husband is missing. There's no sign of forced entry, but on the porch, there's a table with 2 half-full glasses of water. She's with a friend and the gardener's about to leave. The police think at least one of them might be involved, but who? Let's see. One of the glasses is definitely hers because she's wearing red lipstick. The second glass means she was with someone before telling James her husband was gone. The gardener's off the hook because his dirty clothes show he was just working. So that leaves her friend. Looks like he's her lover and they plan to get rid of her husband. A jewelry store robbery really shakes up the city. The cops catch 2 guys right outside the store. Both are wearing backpacks and each one say they were just walking by. James needs your help to figure out who the real thief is. This guy might look like a businessman, but he's the real thief. If you look closely, you can see a little bit of stolen jewelry peeking out through a small tear in his backpack. Now, an art gallery owner asks for James's help. He's convinced one of his employees swapped his most valuable painting with a fake one. He shows James a picture of the real artwork. Can you spot 3 differences between the fake one and the real one? Here they are. Nice job. In a quiet antique shop, a rare emerald brooch goes missing. The only people there at the time were an elderly lady and a young woman. Detective James is convinced one of them is the thief. But who? Take a closer look at their faces to figure it out. Turns out, the old woman is actually a thief in disguise, wearing a super realistic mask. The seam on her neck gives her away, and the shawl is just there to throw off suspicion. James heads to the circus to unwind, but the magician suddenly stops the show. His rare gold pocket watch has gone missing from his dressing room. James checks the room but can't find any obvious spots where it could be hidden. Can you figure out where the missing watch is? You can only see the tip of it, but the watch is actually tucked inside the magician's hat. Turns out, it's not a crime at all, just a very forgetful guy. But things in this circus are getting scarier. Now the clown was found lifeless in his dressing room. And there was a note on his desk that said, "If anything happens to me, look for," and then he listed a bunch of words that seem random. James knows the message is coded and that the words on the odd lines are just filler. Can you figure out who the detective should be looking for? Let's cross out juggler, trapeze, and acrobat. That leaves us with the prime suspect, the makeup artist. The detective gets invited to this fancy gala. Everything's going fine until the big chandelier just falls and crashes to the floor. Luckily, no one was standing under it. but James has a hunch that someone might be behind it. Can you guess who? The wires were cut from above. Even though the floor is packed with people, only one man is trying to make a run for it. Look, you can actually see his leg trying to sneak through the emergency exit. James walks into his house, only to find a riddle written on his walls. The more you have of me, the less you see. What am I? Do you know the answer? The answer is darkness, says James. But as soon as the detective says it out loud, his lights are suddenly switched off. James's living room is now super dark, and he needs your help to switch on the lights. But only one lamp is working. Do you know which one? The wiring of lamp number 2 is all tangled up, so the cable may be broken. Bulb number 3 is burnt out. In number 4, the switch is already on, but the light is still off, meaning it's also not working. Lamp number 1 is the correct choice. The detective rushes upstairs to figure out who's behind all this and finds his wife chained to a chair on the second floor. To free her, he needs to crack the 3-digit code from the padlock. There's a clue left for him. The 3 numbers refer to your favorite secret agent. His spy name is James because he was inspired by none other than the famous movie character James Bond. And what is Bond's most famous code number? 007. Those are the 3 digits we're looking for. Now that she's free, James's wife points to the table, saying the dinner's ready. She looks nervous, so the detective immediately senses that something's off. This must be the work of the suspect inside his house. There are 4 plates on the table, but only one is safe to eat. Keep in mind that James is seriously allergic to seafood. Plate number 3 looks like onion rings, but they're actually fried calamari, so James has to stay away from that. The only safe choice is plate number 4. After pulling off a few more tricks, the suspect finally gives up and bolts out the door. Phew! Now the detective can finally relax in peace with his wife.
Our guy Noah here is a student working at a restaurant every night in order to make some extra money to pay the bills. At work, he sees the most absurd things possible. Sometimes he even has to crack detective cases. Let's help him, shall we? Noah arrives at work on the first day of the week and notices something unusual. 3 very well-dressed ladies are sitting at a table. He starts watching them and soon realizes that one of them is just pretending to be rich. Can you figure out which one it is? It's the woman in the middle. She's wearing a fake watch. The real brand is called Chanel and not Channel. After figuring out this mystery, Noah goes back to the kitchen to check if anyone needs help. There, he sees 2 cooks arguing. One of them is accusing the other of having poisoned the food. Ooh, that's a very serious accusation. But who really tried to poison one of the dishes? The chef on the right has a few stains left by food on his uniform. But after all, his job is cooking. Now look at the one on the left. His uniform is very clean, but there's a bottle in one of his pockets. Despite his speckless clothes, he is the culprit. Noah follows this chef after he storms out of the kitchen and discovers him rummaging through the trash cans outside the restaurant. The guy wonders what else he might be hiding. So he pays closer attention to the situation and soon understands what looks strange there. The trash cans, they're empty. It must mean that the guilty chef has already thrown away the poison and discarded the trash bags to get rid of any evidence that he attempted to commit a crime. Noah decides to keep an eye on the guy. Then, Noah returns to the restaurant through the front door and finds two customers looking like identical twins arguing in front of the receptionist. One accuses the other of being an imposter and says that he is the one who actually reserved the spot. Can you help Noah understand who is lying? The customer in the coat is wearing a mask to look like the guy who actually reserved a spot at the restaurant. Have you noticed this patch of skin on his wrist? His skin color is actually different from that on his face, which, in reality, is just a mask. Noah decides to go check the bathrooms to see if everything is okay. Outside, in front of the sink and mirrors, two women are standing. Suddenly, a new presenter announces on the radio that a dangerous female criminal has escaped from a maximum security prison. Strangely, both of the ladies look worried after hearing this. Noah immediately realizes that one of them has escaped from prison. But which one? The second woman, who is putting on makeup, is the fugitive the police are looking for. The bracelet on her wrist is actually not a real bracelet. It's a broken handcuff. She managed to escape, but she was unable to remove the handcuff completely. The next evening, Noah is serving one of the tables when he notices something strange about the customers sitting there. One of them seems to be not who they claim to be. Which one is it? The bearded man is actually a woman. Have you noticed her elegant hands with long nails she's hiding under the table? Plus, it looks like her mustache has unglued from one side. Uh-oh. Noah is the last one to leave the restaurant that night. Before he rounds the corner, he hears some suspicious noise and turns around. Oh no! Someone is sneaking into the restaurant. Noah calls the police and rushes inside to investigate. He switches on the lights and, at first sight, sees nothing out of the ordinary. But soon he realizes where the intruder is hiding. Have you spotted them too? A pair of boots are sticking out from under that curtain. That's where the intruder is hiding. The police arrive fast and arrest the intruder. Noah is finally free to go home. But the universe seems to be laughing at him that night. At one point, he realizes he's lost his way. In front of him, there are 3 roads. Which one should he opt for to stay safe? The road on the left doesn't have any streetlights further ahead and plunges into darkness. It might be unsafe to go there. The road on the right is guarded by a few unfriendly dogs. So, even though this street in the middle is very narrow, it's probably the safest option for Noah. Luckily, Noah gets home without any problem. To calm down, he decides to drink some chamomile tea with sugar. But he's so tired, he can't figure out which of these 3 jars contain sugar. Can you help our poor guy? Well, the substance in the jar on the left is pinkish, so whatever it is, it's not sugar. The jar in the middle contains something that looks like fine dust. It must be flour. So, the jar on the right is filled with sugar. Once, Noah's friends, Liza, Laura, and Mia, came to his restaurant. After the meal, they asked him if he could help them split their $56 bill. Noah did as they asked. As a result, Liza paid twice as much as Laura, and Laura paid twice as much as Mia. How much did each person pay? Mia paid $8, Laura paid $16, and Liza paid $32. The girls told Noah that they parked their cars not far from the restaurant, and the guy went to see them off. It had been snowing all evening, but surprisingly, they saw that only 2 cars had snow on them. Why was the third car snow-free? Look, the third friend was parked under a tree. It blocked the snow. Noah is going to work. Suddenly, he stops and stares at the scene in front of him. All because he realizes that not 1 but 3 things seem to be off in this street. What made Noah stop? First of all, it's these traffic lights. I mean, where's the red? Then, look at this tram. It doesn't have doors. Creepy. And finally, there are no tram tracks. Yep, there's something seriously wrong with this tram. A man rushed into the restaurant, claiming he had heard a very loud noise coming from the house next door. He was afraid to go investigate alone, so Noah went with him. They ran inside and found the house owner on the floor of his bedroom, tied and gagged. Once free, he said he had been in bed reading a book when a man in a black mask broke into his room. The criminal tied him up, took all his money, and disappeared. Noah didn't believe the man's story. Why? There isn't even a wrinkle on the covers of the bed. Something doesn't add up. The man must be lying, or the burglar is a very neat dude. Noah's colleague, Julia, who had helped him that day, called the restaurant and told the guy that she was running a bit late, but she promised to come at 8. When she finally showed up at 8:02, Noah was furious. Why? Noah works night shifts, so of course, he thought Julia would come in at 8 p.m., but the girl showed up at 8:02 a.m. Noah's boss gave the guy a sack with coffee beans and asked him to fill 2 empty sacks with the beans from the first sack. But the problem is, all 3 sacks are of the same size. How can Noah do it? He should put one of the empty sacks into the other and then fill it with coffee beans. Well, Noah's boss is away, but he needs to check some documents on his computer. So he calls Noah and asks for help. But the computer is password protected. The only hint Noah finds is a note hidden under the keyboard. It has these numbers and words. Can you help the guy figure out what the password is? It's moonlight. The number in front of each word refers to the corresponding letter of this word. Now, did you guess all of them correctly? Good job! Emma, a sharp law student, was at the supermarket when she noticed 3 people acting oddly, seemingly eyeing the same package of pasta. Who's up to no good? Take a closer look. The elderly man with a hunched back is hiding the pasta right under his coat. His posture helped him cover the volume of the packages, and he'll probably steal another one. At checkout, Emma sees an older woman trying to buy a cake that costs $30, but she only has $20 in her wallet. The cashier says no, but the elderly woman insists she's still taking the cake home. But how? Well, no need to call security. She's just going to use the digital wallet on her phone. She might be older, but she keeps up with the trends. Back at home, Emma feels like something's off. She starts scanning her porch, trying to figure out if it's just her imagination or if something's wrong. What's out of place? carefully. The soil in the plant pot is disturbed. Someone dug through it to find her spare keys, but I guess got disturbed during the search. Emma rushes to her room to cool off, but then she realizes the window is open. She's certain now someone got inside. Can you find out what they've stolen? Take a look at the desk. The mouse and keyboard are there, but the computer screen is missing. She gets closer to check it out and finds a bracelet next to the keyboard with the letter M. The suspect must have left it behind by mistake, and she immediately knows who took her computer. But who was it? Emma has a matching bracelet, but hers has the letter E on it. It's the one she shares with her boyfriend. So it wasn't a robbery. He just probably borrowed her computer. Phew! Emma heads over to her boyfriend's place, and he decides to make things fun with a treasure hunt. Emma's mission? Find her computer screen. The instructions are simple. Take 2 steps to the right, walk straight until you reach the wall, take 2 steps back. Can you guess the location of her computer screen using this room map? That's right, it's hidden under the rug. Careful where you step. Emma heads to the park for fresh air, but she spots 2 pregnant women acting strange. Who's faking the pregnancy? This woman has a cloth sticking out from under her blouse. She's not really pregnant. It's a fake belly. Still suspicious, Emma follows the woman to a nearby store. She watches as the woman picks out some clothes and heads to the checkout. What's she hiding? Notice anything odd? Look at the sign. She's in the priority lane. Looks like she faked her pregnancy just to skip the line and avoid waiting. Emma decides to confront the scammer and asks her, "How long have you been pregnant?" The lady answers, "For 100 days." Now Emma is sure she's faking it. But why? "100 days means she's about 3 months pregnant. So no way her belly would be that big if she's telling the truth." The law student lost track of time and needs to get home as soon as possible. She has 3 transport options: take the bus for $3, grab a taxi for $20, or hitch a ride with a friend on a motorcycle for free. Which one does she choose? The motorcycle ride sounds tempting since it's free, but here's the catch: the tire's flat. So she wouldn't get there as quickly as she needs to. The bus is cheap too, but it'll probably take ages to get home. In the end, she decides to take the taxi. Emma needs to study for a law exam. She opens her notebook and sees that her professor left her 3 riddles to solve. If she figures them all out, she'll get extra points. Can you help her? Here's the first one. I stand for order, not for fight, but cross me wrong and you'll lose the right. What am I? The answer is justice, says Emma. Next one. I decide if someone is guilty or innocent, but I'm not a judge. Who am I? Oh, that's easy. A jury. On to the last one. I saw it all, but kept no score. When asked to speak, I tell what's more. Who am I? And the answer is a witness. Amazing! In college, Emma's professor tells her she'll have to take part in a pretend trial called a moot court to test her skills as a future lawyer. Here's the situation. On a snowy day, a man got hit by a car, and the driver says it wasn't his fault. A witness says the pedestrian light was green. The driver claims he was going within the speed limit, and the victim says he was on the crosswalk. Now look at the scene and answer, who's lying? The victim. The witness was telling the truth because the light was indeed green for the pedestrian. But those footprints in the snow show that the victim crossed outside the crosswalk, so it wasn't the driver's fault. The professor keeps testing Emma and suggests another situation. A lawyer goes to the house of a rich man who passed away. The will clearly states, "I leave my fortune to my son Mark and my daughter Anna, with the condition that she must finish engineering school to get her share." Look at the scene and tell me, will the fortune be split between the siblings? Unfortunately, no. Notice the picture on the wall. Anna is wearing a doctor's uniform, which suggests she graduated in medicine, not engineering. So only Mark gets the inheritance. It's time for the professor to hand out the grades from the last exam. Emma's friends are waiting for their results, and he says, "Whoever's wearing glasses got a D, Maria got a B, and only one girl got an A. So, who got the highest grade in the class?" Since the ones with glasses got a D, we can rule out the first and fourth girls. Girl number 2 is wearing a necklace with the initials M, so that must be Maria, who got a B. That means the third girl must have gotten an A. In the evening, Emma decides to try something different and goes with her boyfriend to a dining-in-the-dark experience. Basically, they have to try different foods while blindfolded. The appetizer comes out quickly. Without even looking, she says, "I know what this is, but how?" Easy. She smelled it. It's blue cheese. So, even with the cover on the plate, she could smell its strong aroma. Now, one of the customers says that while she was blindfolded, someone stole her purse. The crime happened at 7 p.m. A suspect claims it wasn't him because he had just arrived. He even shows a movie ticket as proof. Look closely at the ticket and answer, is his alibi solid? Nope. Because having a ticket doesn't prove he actually watched the movie. He could have just walked in, grabbed her purse, left early, and then gone back to the restaurant. The waiter brings the bill. The total for the appetizer and the main course is $150. Emma checks the cost of each dish and realizes that the main course costs $100 more than the appetizer. So, how much is each item? The appetizer costs $25 and the main course costs $125. Ooh, a bit pricey, isn't it? To get into her house, Emma needs to enter a 3-digit code. Since she loves playing cards, she made a password based on that. The first 2 digits are the numbers of cards in a standard deck. The last digit is the number of suits. Can you crack the code? A regular deck of playing cards has 52 cards and 4 suits. So Emma's password is 524.
Carol, Rachel, and Mia are looking to lose some weight before the summer. They've enrolled in gym classes and have been working out every day. The problem is that one of them is in grave danger and has no clue about it. Take a look at the image. Can you guess whose life is on the line? Carol, the one on the left, is doing a great job balancing her weight on top of that ball. Rachel, the one in the middle, is also lifting heavy weights like a pro. And Mia is running fast on that treadmill. But oh no, she's running while chewing gum. That's a terrible idea. Something tragic could happen to her. Kyle and Tom are big wave riders, and they're spending a season in Hawaii. One day, the sea was too strong and knocked them both out of their boards. They were almost drowning when the rescue team arrived with helicopters to save them. One of the surfers is in grave danger though. Can you guess who? The man on the left, Kyle, is climbing the helicopter ladder with only one of his hands, while the other one is carrying his surfboard. It looks scary, but he's safe. The man on the right, Tom, is struggling to climb the ladder because the ropes are about to break. He's in real danger. Betty was running late for a job interview when she was stopped by an old man on the streets. He said he could tell her the result of her interview if she could solve one of his riddles. She accepted his challenge and told her, "I am a 3-letter word and I can change a girl into a woman. What am I? Can you help Betty out here?" The correct answer is age. And guess what? She'll pass her interview. Pete and Bobby are 2 brothers living on an animal farm. They have a big, adventurous spirit, so they like to tease and play with some of the most dangerous animals around. One day, when they were teasing Ron, the bull, it got so mad that it destroyed the fence and started running after the boys. The boys started running for their lives. Can you guess which one of them is in grave danger? Well, although Bobby is crying and running behind, Pete is wearing a red shirt. The color red irritates the bull's eyes, so Pete is the one in real danger here. Rebecca and Linda are professional Olympic sailors. They set out to cross the Atlantic. In the first week of their crossing, they were hit by a huge storm. Both of their boats capsized and they were thrown into shark-infested waters. One of them is in danger of being eaten by the sharks. Can you tell which one? Both of them look like they're in danger, but Rebecca, on the left, has a huge wound on her arm. The blood she's losing is attracting the sharks, and, well, if rescue doesn't come soon, maybe she won't make it. Mary works as a manager at the local circus. They've been traveling all around the country, and every day they have to set up and put down their scenario. Her task is to supervise the workers so that they do everything according to the company's standards. She arrives at the spot, takes a look at the stage, and freaks out. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out why? Take a closer look at the sign. It says citrus when it should say circus. Oh my. Jerry and Michael went to celebrate their birthdays in a cabin near a lake. They rented kayaks to go explore the lake, but halfway through their ride, they got into a bit of trouble. Both of their kayaks started slowly sinking. Which one do you think will sink first? The first kayak has 2 holes in it, but somehow it has way less water in it. The second one has only 1 hole, but look at the amount of water that got inside. It's definitely the second kayak that's going to sink first. Sue is an undercover detective. During her lunch break, she went to her favorite cafe. There, she saw 3 people that called her attention. She quickly noticed that one of them had probably been poisoned. Take a look at the image. Can you tell who it was? The third guy didn't even drink his cappuccino. He must be just sleeping. The second lady is awake. She has a cappuccino mustache, but that seems fine. The last guy looks off. His phone is ringing off the hook in his pocket, and he's not even budging. That's suspicious. Cindy is a nanny, and she got a new babysitting job taking care of Nims. Nims has lots of toys. She likes to play with the same 3 dolls. One night, Cindy got super scared and ran out of the house screaming, saying one of the dolls was alive. Take a look at them. Can you guess which one? Let's see. The first doll has glowing eyes, but that's just a fun feature. You can see her clothes also have the same thing. The second doll looks normal, but the third doll has wrinkly skin and her face has definitely changed after the first picture. That's the one. Maria is traveling, and she just arrived in a new city. Most of the hotels were booked, so she only found available rooms in an old house. There were 3 rooms for her to choose from. Take a look at the picture. Which one should she pick? Well, so you see the hidden spiders behind the curtains in the first room? That's a big no-go. As for the third room, notice how the AC is set to cold even though it's snowing outside? No to that. So she should definitely pick the second room. It looks pretty clean. Sunny was playing Truth or Dare, and her friends dared her to walk into an abandoned hospital in the middle of the night. To enter, there was a 5-digit combination lock. She looked around for some clues and found a piece of paper with 5 digits: 8, 1, 1, 6, 9. But the code didn't work. Can you tell what she was doing wrong? She was holding the paper upside down. The correct code is 69118. Harry was starving after a full day of work. He walked into a store where 2 chefs were baking cakes. But here's the catch. Only one was safe to eat. Take a look at both of these delicious-looking cakes. Which one is safe? If you have a sharp eye, you'll notice that the chef on the left is a fake, so you shouldn't eat his cake. The left chef has stains all over his shirt that look like blood. Plus, he doesn't have a badge on his shirt. He has a scratch over his eye, and he's hiding a syringe in his hand behind his back. There are just too many red flags here. Johnny and Miriam have a social media channel dedicated to exploring haunted houses. One Friday night, they went to a new location to film. The house they chose was falling apart, and they could hear cries coming from it. Miriam entered through the front door, while Johnny went straight to the basement. Take a look at the image. Who is in greater danger? It's Johnny. If the house decided to crumble right that instant, it would definitely hurt him. Jesse and Flo are influencers. They got a call from a brand to do a last-minute photo shoot. They got into their car and drove to the location. On the way, they were stopped by a police checkpoint. They had to get out of the vehicle for an inspection, but Jesse noticed something strange. That police officer was a fake. How could he tell? The cop was wearing a ripped shirt, but that was not the real issue. His badge said City Police with a U instead of an O. Big trouble there, buddy. Brandy was an old woman that loved making up her own riddles and asking random people to solve them. She met a couple on the street and asked them, "What comes once in a minute, twice in a moment, but never in 1,000 years?" The couple looked confused, but they nailed the answer. Can you figure it out? The answer is the letter M. Hey, dear Brightside Detective, meet James. He's a regular guy, at first sight. In reality, very strange things tend to happen to him. See for yourself. Once James went swimming at a local lake, and guess what? One of the other beachgoers turned out to be a visitor from space. Look at these people attentively, and help James figure out which one it is. It's the guy swimming in the lake. See that tentacle? It must belong to him, which makes him an extraterrestrial visitor. So bizarre. Luckily, he turned out to be pretty chill, and James made a new exotic friend.
Hello.
On the other hand, James's new acquaintance had a quirk. He liked making Earthlings crack his riddles. So, he asked James all of a sudden, "I'm a person, I'm a fruit, and I'm a bird. What am I?" Can you help our guy find the answer? The correct answer is kiwi. The next riddle seemed simple, but was it? It went like this. People buy me to eat, but never eat me. What am I? James actually spent quite some time trying to figure out the answer. How about you? It's a plate.
Oh my.
But James's new friend didn't stop. The next riddle was even trickier. He showed James a box and asked him to guess what was inside. Apparently, it was a color, but James could also eat it. What can it be? Inside the box was an orange. Luckily, James guessed correctly, so the visitor from outside the solar system gave him the fruit and let him be.
Yeah.
James breathed out and escaped from his weirdo of an acquaintance. He decided that after a nice swim, it was high time to go to a museum. He was looking at some pretty cool statues at the museum when suddenly he realized that one of them wasn't actually a statue. Which one was it? And how did he understand it? Look at the statue on the left. It has no wrist, so it must be the real thing. The head of the right statue has been replaced. See that seam on its neck? So it must be a statue too. But the one in the middle is a living and breathing human. Look at his pink cheeks and the drops of sweat on his forehead. Must be difficult to hold that arm raised all the time. At one point, James paid attention to 3 other visitors of the exhibition. All of them were very beautiful women, and James immediately fell in love. Yep, he's a very amorous guy. Sadly, one of James's new love interests is a vampire's wife. Let's save the poor guy and tell him which lady he should stay away from.
Oh.
The lady on the left might just have a very pale complexion. The one on the right is probably drinking some red-colored juice or cocktail. But the woman in the middle has been bitten recently. Look at her neck. So she must be the wife. Run, James, run! After having barely avoided grave danger, James decided to relieve stress and went to the gym. Beside him, there were only 2 other visitors, 2 young ladies. The one on the left is working out, and the one on the right is taking selfies on the latest iPhone. Look at them attentively and try to figure out which of them is indeed rich and which is just a make-believe. To understand it, you need to pay close attention to details. The woman on the left is wearing a cool fitness watch, which must be pretty expensive. Her training shoes are high quality but a bit worn out. It means she's a regular at that gym. Also, she has wireless ear pods, and a personal trainer is right next to her. As for the woman on the right, she looks flashy with her iPhone and jewelry. But if you look closely, you'll understand that this jewelry is cheap. And instead of sneakers, she's wearing flats. It seems she's never been to a fancy gym before, and she used a free trial entrance to take as many pics as possible. So the lady on the left is actually rich. Now, back to that orange James got from his extraterrestrial friend. He bought 4 more and gave all the 5 oranges to 5 boys he knew. They started eating the fruit. A finished eating before B, but after C. D finished before E, but after B. In what order did the boys finish eating apples? C, A, B, D, E. On his way home, James noticed that his neighbor's house was on fire. He also saw a firefighter nearby, but the man was just standing there doing nothing. Why wasn't this professional helping James's neighbor? Can you figure it out? Let's see how attentive you are. Have you noticed those pumpkins and Halloween decorations? The guy isn't a real firefighter and he's just wearing a Halloween costume. So James had to take matters into his own hands and help his neighbor put the fire out.
Oh my God!
The next day, James was invited to his cousin's wedding. But half an hour before the ceremony, the guy pulled his cousin aside and told her that her husband-to-be was cheating on her. How did he know? James spotted a lipstick stain on the fiancé's shirt, and the color was different from the one his cousin was wearing.
Oh no!
The wedding was canceled, and the fiancé got really angry. He locked James in a small room. To get out of there, the guy needed to figure out the password. It's the answer to this riddle. It can be hot, it can be cold. It can rush, and it can stay still. It can be hard, and it can slip through anything. What is it?
Oh my God!
It's water. After figuring it out, James was out of the room in no time. For a week, James's life was pretty uneventful until he got a call from a friend who lived in a different town. He claimed that a vampire family had moved into the houses next to his, and he was very worried. James couldn't leave him in the lurch, so he went there and found the right street. He saw 3 houses. James came up to the house which he thought was weird. Which one did he choose? A, B, or C? What do you think? Look at the footprints. Aren't they kind of strange? They lead to and from houses A and C. But what about house B? The footprints only lead in one direction, inside. Apparently, people come in, but they never get out of there. Creepy. James decided to check the house. He rang the bell. The vampire's wife opened the door. "A human, finally!" she exclaimed. "We need your help. Someone attacked my husband. Please find out who did it." James was shocked, but entered the house. He saw the vampire family. He asked them what they'd been doing during the attack. The brother said he'd been sleeping in his coffin. The son answered that he'd been cleaning his clothes and hadn't seen anything. And the wife said she'd been playing the piano. James immediately understood who had attacked the vampire. Have you figured it out? It was the vampire's brother. He said he'd been sleeping in his coffin, but this coffin is too small for him to fit inside. He's a liar. The vampire's brother got angry, but allowed James to leave. He even showed the guy where the exit was. But James saw not 1, but 3 doors. The room behind the first door was filled with dangerous, toxic gas. Behind the second door, a huge rock was hanging over the entrance. As soon as something or someone got inside, it would fall down. There was a hungry tiger waiting for its prey in the third room. Which door should James opt for? The guy took off one of his sneakers, opened the second door, and threw it inside. The rock crushed the shoe, and James easily got out of the house through the second door. On New Year's Eve morning, Becca and her boyfriend Tim had a huge argument. Tim saw some text message on Becca's phone and was convinced she was cheating on him. After throwing a fit, he left home. Later that day, he started to feel guilty about how he had treated Becca. So, he showed up to their house unannounced. When Becca opened the door, she didn't look too happy to see her boyfriend. Tim accused her of having her lover over at their place, but she was extremely offended by his suggestion. Take a look at the image and tell us your take on this. Was Becca lying after all? Yes, she was. If you have really sharp eyes, you probably saw that Becca's lover was hidden right there next to the fireplace. He hid behind the logs, but you can still see a little bit of his feet coming out. There have been a series of disappearances in the town of Auberville. Last week, a girl disappeared on the walk home from school and reappeared 2 days later, acting really weird. The police investigated what happened to her, and they concluded that she had been abducted. Take a look at this image. Use your sharp logic to figure out why the police think she was abducted. Well, the girl is eating lunch with the rest of her friends, but while they're eating normal human food like chicken and bananas, she's eating space food. The same food that NASA astronauts eat on their missions. That's probably why they think she was abducted. It was a beautiful sunny day. So Rachel and Bobby decided to go swimming in one of Australia's most dangerous beaches. In a few minutes, the lifeguard heard some screams and went rushing into the water. One of the girls was in danger. Can you figure out which one of them was needing help just by looking at the image? Let's see. Bobby, on the left, looks like she's drowning, but she's actually a surfer and her surfboard is just a few inches away. She's safe. Now, even though Rachel is close to the shore, it seems like she's having trouble swimming all the way back. It looks like the strong currents are pulling her back into the sea. She's the one in trouble. Maria is getting married next month and she's preparing the seating chart for her wedding. Some people confirmed their attendance last minute, and now she's scratching her head on how to sit them to watch the ceremony. Johnny and Harry are twins and they can't stand each other. Rory and Emily are also twins that don't get along well. Barb is best friends with the guys, so she asks to sit next to one of them. What should the sitting order be so that no fights break out? Rory should sit first, then Johnny and Barb. After them, Harry can sit down, followed by Emily. This way, peace prevails. Lily was perusing through her father's old photo albums for a school project. She found a picture of her father and his best friends at a party back in the 1970s. Her dad looked cool, but there was something weird about one of his friends. Can you take a look and see which of her friends is from the future? It's the guy on the left. Take a look at his jeans pocket. He has a smartphone peeking out, but there were no smartphones back then, were there? He's definitely a time traveler. Carrie is a freshman at an important university. On her first day, she was welcomed by 2 sophomore girls who volunteered to show her around. It seemed like they were getting along well, until Carrie got pranked by one of the girls. She went to take a shower and red liquid came raining down on her. Have a look at the 2 sophomore girls. With detective eyes, try to guess which one pranked Carrie. The blonde girl looked pretty innocent. But hey, if you look closely at the purple-haired girl, she's got red paint all over her hands. She's definitely the one who did it. Kim, June, and Kate have been best friends since they were little. They're about to turn 30, and they decided to travel so that they could spend some quality time together. When they arrived at a cafe in New York, the waiter asked June what were the names of her 3 kids. But hey, she never said anything about having kids. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out how the waiter guessed she was a mother of 3? Out of the 3 friends, June is the only one wearing a necklace that has 3 initials on it. Plus, her screensaver was a picture of her and her family. That waiter must have a really good eye for detail, huh? Ella was throwing a small housewarming party with her closest friends. Everything was great until her cat started hissing at the corner of the room. She thought it was nothing, but got completely spooked when she realized that something was really off. Take a look at the image and find out what's putting Ella's life in danger before it's too late. Apparently, some weirdo had crashed her party and was hiding behind the curtains. If you look closely, you'll see there are hands gripping at the edge of the curtains. Unless someone is playing hide and seek, this person is likely to be a robber. Amy was on her first Girl Scout trip. She needed to look for drinkable water near where the group set camp. She went alone to find it, but when she got a hold of herself, she was in trouble. She was standing in the middle of a fragile wooden bridge. Inside the lake water underneath the bridge, there were dangerous crocodiles swimming. To her left, there was a pretty big snake. And to her right, there was a mountain cat. What do you think is Amy's best choice to get out of there alive? One of her best options would be to throw her heavy boots in the snake's direction in order to spook it away. This way, she would clear a quick path to get back to land and find a way back to her camp. Leela got an invitation to join a pop-up riddle show. All she had to do was answer one tricky question to win $1,000. She was excited to win some easy bucks, but when the host asked her the question, she froze. He asked her how many numbers were on a clock. Could you help her figure it out? The answer seemed obvious, 12, right? But nope, it's more complicated than that. The real answer is 15. Here's the trick. Numbers like 10, 11, and 12 are made up of smaller digits. If you count clockwise, you actually have these digits: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, and 2. Add them all up, and you've got 15. At Middle Summer High School, the teachers decided to play a prank on their students to make the holiday season more cheerful. The principal announced that there was a robber on the loose and he was dressed as Santa. He was robbing laptops inside the school property. At the end of the school day, students had photographed 5 different people dressed up as Santa around school. Take a look at the photographs. Can you figure out who the fake thief is? The thief is the second Santa on the left. Look at his belly shape. It looks too rectangular to be real. He must be hiding a laptop somewhere. During the office's end-of-the-year party, Heather and Tim kissed under the mistletoe, and it became the talk of the company. The next month, everybody was still talking about it near the coffee machine. Take a look at the image, and try to guess which 2 people kissed under the mistletoe. I bet those eagle eyes spotted that 2 of them were wearing a similar pendant. On the left, you can see Tim, the guy with half a heart-shaped necklace, and then on the right, Heather is the girl wearing a bracelet with the same pendant.
2 detectives, Jake and Olivia, have recently been promoted and transferred to the Capitol. And now, they need to prove to their new, not-so-friendly colleagues that their skills are more than enough to work there. How about we help them? While investigating their new case connected to the activity of an infamous gang, Jake and Olivia uncover a series of terrible traps set up in one of the gang's warehouses. The criminals apparently store dangerous chemical and biological agents there. The detectives come across 3 glass containers. To their horror, people are trapped inside, each facing a different threat. Unfortunately, the detectives can only save one person because they don't have enough time. Jake and Olivia must analyze who is in the greatest danger and act accordingly. Can you help them? The green gas is, in fact, non-toxic. It's just colored smoke meant to create the illusion of danger. The woman inside this chamber seems totally fine, just a bit scared. The guy in the chamber with a few bees is only at risk if he is allergic to their stings. This makes the man in the chamber with those creepy rats the priority. He is in the most immediate and genuine danger. After saving the trapped people, Jake and Olivia follow the gang's track, and it leads them to India. They find themselves in a busy marketplace in Mumbai. Suddenly, the detectives notice someone who seems suspicious to them. Can you figure out which person they have paid attention to? See that man wearing a warm jacket? The day is scorching, and Jake and Olivia are covered with sweat. So, such a large jacket likely means that the man is hiding something inside. Our detectives manage to detain the man and find a bundle with diamonds in a secret pocket and a map with a marked location. The map takes Jake and Olivia to a seemingly abandoned warehouse, but soon our detectives find proof that this location is connected to an international criminal syndicate involved in artifact smuggling. They find a jumbled-up picture that seems important. The image is scrambled and hard to identify, but solving it could help them understand where the criminals are planning their next move. Can you figure out what this picture is and where it's from? Upon careful examination, Jake and Olivia realize that the picture shows the pyramids of Egypt. This makes them think that the criminals are planning to steal valuable ancient artifacts from an Egyptian tomb or museum. After informing Egyptian authorities, our detectives return to their home city. A new tricky case is already waiting for them. While they were away, their colleague Clark got into a car accident and lost his memory. When he came around, doctors told him he was supposed to recover his memories, but not all of them. The worst thing about this situation is that Clark knows, or should we say used to know, a very important code needed to open a safe with super-secret documents only a few detectives have access to. Jake and Olivia are among those who need the documents urgently. They decide to help Clark recollect the code. After searching the guy's home, they find a note with some hints about how to crack the code. The password consists of 5 numbers. The first number is 3 times bigger than the fifth. The third number is smaller than the second by 3. The fourth number is bigger than the second by 4. 3 pairs of numbers add up to 11. Can you help our detectives to understand what this crucial code is? The code is 65292. The only way to figure it out is to use the substitution method. This way, you can come to the conclusion that there are only 3 suitable pairs of numbers adding up to 11 and meeting all other requirements: 6 plus 5, 2 plus 9, and 9 plus 2. Matthew, the owner of a big company, comes to work one day and, as usual, switches on his computer. A few seconds later, he discovers that all the data connected with a super important deal has been erased from his computer. He calls the police, and Jake and Olivia come to investigate. It turns out that 3 people have come close to Matthew's computer, and our detectives question them all. Sydney, the accountant, tells them that the computer was frozen. She just pressed several keys on the keyboard, and everything started to work normally again. William, the IT specialist, claims that he only updated the antivirus software. He did it remotely and didn't even touch the computer. Laura, the secretary, says she was with William. The only thing she did was restart the device. Jake and Olivia take fingerprints from the computer and around it, and that's what they discover. Can you figure out who deleted the files? Look, there aren't any fingerprints on the keyboard. It means Sydney lied. She is behind the disappearance of the files. It's Jake's birthday. Olivia decides to splurge and present him something he's been dreaming about for ages: a motorbike. Jake is on cloud 9. The next morning, he rides his bike to work and leaves it at the parking lot. During a coffee break, the detective decides to check on his motorbike. Imagine his horror when he finds out that someone has broken the mirrors. The security guard tells Jake that only 3 other people left the building in the afternoon. They were John and Liam, 2 best friends, Jake's colleagues, and Nina, the secretary of their division. Jake suspects that the girl likes him. John tells our detective that he and Liam went to a nearby cafe to get sandwiches for lunch. Liam confirms this and adds that Nina might have damaged the bike out of jealousy. But Nina tells Jake that her mom visited her, and they spent an hour together. Help Jake understand who is lying. Have you noticed that John has a paper bag with food delivery written on it in his left hand? The guys must have ordered their lunch, not bought it in the cafe. Liam and John broke Jake's bike and tried to frame Nina. The next day, neither John nor Liam are police officers anymore. But Jake and Olivia still are. That's why they're sent to deal with a terrifying case. In the middle of a long flight, 2 criminals stood up and started to threaten the crew and passengers. They demanded $1 million and a helicopter. One of the criminals had a pilot's license and could fly a copter. So the plane lands at the nearest airport, where Jake and Olivia have already put their clever plan into action. The criminals get everything they requested: a case full of money and a helicopter. They get inside, but for some mysterious reason, the copter stays put. In no time, the police capture them. Have you understood what Jake and Olivia's plan was and why the criminals couldn't start the machine? Keep in mind that the helicopter didn't have any technical problems. The helicopter was okay, but there was no fuel in the tank. After this dangerous case, Jake and Olivia get an award, a cruise on a luxurious liner. But they wouldn't be the best detectives in the city if they didn't stumble upon a new tricky case. During their evening stroll, they find a very expensive watch on the deck and ask the cruise liner security to announce it on the radio. Soon, 4 people show up to pick up the watch. Each of them claims it's their watch. Jake and Olivia look at the people attentively and, without exchanging even a word, agree on who the watch belongs to. Can you figure it out too? The man does have a watch tan line, but it's much larger than the watch the detectives have found. This young girl already has a watch on her left hand. Why would she wear the second one? The elderly lady must be very absent-minded. Her tiny dog is wearing her watch as a collar. So, the watch must belong to the teenager. Alex built a time machine and decided to pitch it on Shark Tank. To prove his invention was legit, the sharks challenged him to bring back relics from different eras. Now he needs your help to impress those tough-as-nails investors. He steps into the machine and poof! Alex finds himself in the middle of a dense forest. He hears an enormous roar that sends shivers down his spine. Curious, he creeps closer and spots 2 gigantic dinosaurs with a baby one stuck right between them. Whose baby dino is it? It belongs to the dinosaur on the right, as both of them have red stripes on their backs. But Alex isn't about to stick around to find out what happens next, and he bolts out of there faster than you can say dino dinner. Second stop, ancient Egypt. Alex is now lost in a maze of dusty pyramid corridors. There, a ghostly figure appears. It's the spirit of an ancient pharaoh, and he's not here for a friendly chat. The pharaoh says,
To escape this pyramid, you must listen carefully. If you face the rising sun, walk toward the shadows. If you hear the whispers of the ancients, turn left. But if you feel the coolness of the stone, head straight.
Alex freezes for a moment, thinking it over. What should he do to find the exit? The correct answer is option A, walk toward the shadows. Look, Alex has a compass and knows to face east, where the sun rises and casts shadows to the west. Walking west will safely lead him out of the pyramid, avoiding traps. After leaving the pyramid, he steps into a huge library filled with tons of papyrus scrolls. He grabs one as a relic, but then it hits him. He needs to get out of there fast. Why does he decide to run? A giant library in Egypt? Hold on, we're talking about the Library of Alexandria, the one that famously burned down. If you look over in the corner, you can already see a small flame spreading. And since Alex knows how this story ends, he decides to bolt out of there as quickly as he can. Great! Alex secured his relic from Egypt, and his next stop is the fascinating realm of medieval times. Alex stumbles upon an ancient sword stuck in a rock, and there's something carved on it. I am not alive, but I can grow. I do not breathe, but I can fade away. What am I? Can you help him figure out the answer? The answer is fire. After saying it out loud, Alex manages to pull the sword out of the stone and takes it with him on his journey. Alex is starving, so before heading back to the time machine, he stops at a busy medieval market where a merchant is selling fish. The prices are 2 coins for a small fish, 3 coins for a medium fish, and 5 coins for a large fish. He only has 10 coins. If he wants to buy 2 small fish, how many medium fish can he buy? After purchasing 2 small fish, he spent 4 coins, leaving him with 6 coins. So Alex was able to buy 2 medium fish. Well, it's time to return to the time machine. Now Alex finds himself in a splendid Renaissance court, where the king faces a challenge. 2 young women are claiming to be a long-lost princess. To determine the true heir, he devises a test of royal etiquette. Each woman receives a magnificent gown for a grand banquet. As they enter the opulent hall, the king observes closely. One woman walks with her gown's train trailing behind her, while the other elegantly tucks her train over her arm. Which woman is the true princess? The woman who tucked her train over her arm. A true princess would know to lift her gown's train to avoid tripping and to display grace and poise. The king is so impressed by Alex's investigative skills that he wants to offer him a Renaissance relic to take with him. But first, he wants to test Alex's knowledge of the period. The king points to the famous Mona Lisa and asks, "Who painted it? Donatello, Leonardo da Vinci, or Michelangelo? Do you know?" The portrait was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. Since Alex had already seen the Mona Lisa at the Louvre, this was easy peasy for him. With the Renaissance mystery solved and another relic guaranteed, Alex jumps back into the time machine and zooms to ancient Rome. He arrives at a bustling marketplace filled with philosophers, artisans, and orators. Suddenly, a wise old philosopher approaches and challenges him with a riddle. "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I?" Alex scratches his head. Can you help him figure out the answer? The answer is an echo. Impressed with Alex's wisdom, the philosopher hands him an ancient scroll as a relic for his journey. Well, Alex is on a roll, but now he lands in the Viking Age. He's freezing and needs to get inside a house quickly. There are 3 houses, each with a grim-faced Viking at the door. Which house does he decide to enter? He definitely goes to house number 3. If you notice, the owners of houses 1 and 2 have shields on them. That means they're Viking warriors, and Alex definitely doesn't want to mess with them. His next stop is ancient China. Look, they're constructing the Great Wall, so he decides to take a brick with him to impress the sharks. As he approaches, one of the builders steps in and says that among this huge pile of bricks, only one is suitable for the Great Wall. Can you figure out which one? What are these colored tiles doing here? Look at the color of the Great Wall. The correct brick is this one with an earthy tone. Back in the time machine, Alex travels to the Maya civilization. Suddenly, a wise elder appears, blocking his path. He's holding a mysterious stone calendar, and he explains that their solar calendar, called Haab, has 365 days. But they also have a shorter calendar, called Solkin, primarily used for ceremonial purposes. If Alex guesses how many days the Solkin calendar has, he can take it with him. So, what is the correct answer? If the Haab calendar has 365 days, and the elder said that Solkin calendar is shorter, the only possible answer is option B. Yay! One more relic is guaranteed. After another trip back in time, Alex finds himself in the Victorian era and in the middle of a mystery. A wealthy nobleman had mysteriously disappeared from his mansion. 4 people were in the house that night: a butler, the maid, a gardener, and the nobleman's niece. Each was found in a different room when the authorities arrived. The butler says he was preparing the dining room. The maid claims she was cleaning the windows in the living room. The gardener insists he was outside tending the garden. The niece says she was reading in the library. Who is lying? The maid is lying. Take a closer look at the windows. They're completely filthy and covered in dust. So Alex realizes the maid lied about cleaning them. This suggests she might be involved in the nobleman's disappearance. The time machine now takes Alex to 1896. He's in Greece, witnessing the first ever International Olympic Games. He notices a wall with illustrations of all the sports of the time, but something looks totally off. Can you figure out what it is? Wait, this illustration represents breakdancing, which was only introduced in the 2024 Olympic Games in France. What is it doing here in the 1800s? Could something be off with the time machine? Well, Alex thinks it's better to return to the present day. And with all the relics in hand, he truly impresses the investors on Shark Tank with treasures from across history. Looks like his journey through time paid off.
Andrew and John went to the city. On their way there, they met Jack, and the three men decided to travel together. When they took a break, Jack asked his companions to share some food with him. He had 8 coins, while Andrew had 5 loaves of bread, and John had 3 loaves of bread. The guys divided all that bread equally between the 3 of them. After they had a meal, Jack divided the money fairly. How did he do it? Jack gave Andrew 7 coins, and John got from him just 1 coin. The thing is, the men divided each loaf of bread this way, into 3 pieces. Altogether, they had 24 pieces. Andrew had 15 pieces of bread. He ate 8 of them himself and gave 7 to Jack. John had 9 pieces of bread. He ate 8 of them and gave the remaining one to Jack. So Jack gave 1 coin for each piece of bread. 7 coins to Andrew, who had given him 7 pieces of bread, and 1 coin to John for that 1 piece of bread he had shared. Anna was walking home from work when she heard screams coming from a nearby house. She immediately rushed in to help. What a bad idea, Anna. Anyway, she followed the voice and it guided her to a basement. As soon as she walked in, the door slammed shut. Huh. Told ya, a very bad idea. 3 portals opened in front of her, but only one led to safety. The first portal was filled with giant poisonous spiders. In the second portal, there was a huge suspended rock that would come crashing down the moment someone stepped in. And in the third portal, there were 7 hungry crocodiles. Which portal should Anna opt for? Anna should pick the second portal. She can throw her shoe inside, wait for the terrible stone to fall, and then escape. Michael was walking along the street when a sealed envelope landed near his feet. Inside, there was a key and a note. Help! 323. Inside the building, Michael found door 323 and used the key to open it. A man, gagged and tied to a chair, was inside. Once free, the man told Michael that 2 men had broken into his office, tied him up, and taken all the money from his safe. Luckily, his hands were free, and he managed to write the note and throw it together with the key out of the window. Michael didn't believe the man and called the police. Why? The envelope was sealed. How could the man do it if he was gagged? Sarah bought some ice cream on Saturday but kept the flavors a secret. When she woke up on Sunday, all the ice cream was gone. She asked everyone in the house if they knew anything about that. James answered he had gone to work early that morning and hadn't seen anything. Mary said she wanted to have a new caramel ice cream in the afternoon. She felt bad she was going to miss it. John didn't even know there was ice cream in the house, but he was looking forward to trying it. Can you figure out who knows something about the missing ice cream? It's Mary. The ice cream flavors were a secret. She couldn't be sure if there was a caramel taste among them. Look at these people very attentively. There's an elderly man wearing a monocle sitting at a table with a plate of expensive steak. At the same time, he's dressed in simple clothing with obvious signs of wear. Then, we've got a businessman wearing an expensive suit, but it has small coffee stains on it. He's eating a simple sandwich. There's also a briefcase full of money next to the man, and he looks slightly dressed. As for this artist, He's dressed in a basic work overall with paint stains. He's drawing on a tablet and there's a plate with a lobster in front of him. On his neck, there's quite a large gold chain. Now the question is, which of these men is actually rich? Even though the elderly man is eating an expensive dish and wearing a monocle, his worn-out shoes and simple clothing suggest he doesn't have a lot of funds. The businessman is indeed wearing an expensive suit and has a briefcase full of money. But the coffee stains on his suit and his untidy tie hint that he may not actually be wealthy. Plus, he's eating a very simple sandwich. He might be cutting corners on personal expenses. As for the artist, he stands out with his gold chain and a luxurious lobster dish in front of him. Combined with his focus on the cutting-edge tablet, it all suggests that he is the wealthiest. Wealthy businessman Jeff walked into his home office one day and realized that his safe was gone. He immediately called the police to find out who had done it, but everyone in the house had an alibi. Amy, Jeff's wife, said she'd been working out at the gym that morning. The cleaner answered that she had been cleaning the basement and hadn't heard anything. The cook told the police he had been in the kitchen all day preparing meals and never left it. The police immediately figured the case out. Can you do the same? It's the cook. He said he'd never left the kitchen, but look, his shoes are muddy. Mary, Jane, Chris, and Sally were on the train. It was only them and the conductor checking their tickets in the car. Without warning, the lights went out. When they switched on again, Sally was missing. Everyone started looking for her, but they only found her phone and one of her earrings. The conductor started asking questions. Mary said she had been in the other part of the car when the lights had gone out. Jane answered that she had been sleeping at the time. Chris said he'd been reading a book and hadn't seen anything. Who's lying? It's Chris. He couldn't be reading if the lights were out. Maya was a talented scientist who researched new species of frogs. She put all the frogs she had in 3 tanks, N, L, and R. The letters on the tanks stood for the conditions in each tank: no light, light, and regular. In the R tank, there were twice as many frogs as in the L tank. One day, Maya removed 7 frogs from the tank on the right and placed half of the remaining frogs into the N tank. Your task is to figure out what the marking letter of the right tank is. Let's think logically. This letter can't be N because Maya put the frogs into the N tank, so it's either L or R. But we should keep in mind that Maya removed 7 frogs and then split the number in half, which means the right tank had an odd number of frogs before she took those 7 out. But we know that there were twice as many frogs in the R tank than in the L tank, which means that the number of frogs in the R tank was originally even. So the right tank must be the L tank. Kelly got into a car accident and lost her memory. When she recovered, she found out that she was a very popular girl at school and everyone wanted to date her. One day, 3 guys showed up in the hospital and each of them claimed to be her boyfriend. Please help Kelly understand who's telling the truth. The clue is hidden in the pictures by Kelly's bed. In the first one, she's with her family. But in the other picture, she's with a guy who looks exactly like the boy on the left. So, he must be her boyfriend. Several police officers were called to a hotel after one of the employees was found unconscious on the floor. The police checked the cameras to figure out what had happened. They had 3 suspects, all of them hotel guests. Sarah said she had heard some commotion and left because she got scared. James told the police that he'd been outside ordering a taxi to go sightseeing. And John said he'd been sleeping at home. Can you understand who's lying? It's John. He was a guest at the hotel. Then how could he be at home sleeping?